Peter Mehlman, longtime co-executive producer of Seinfeld and writer right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Okay, I've got a list of some of your great works with Seinfeld. The apartment episode that you wrote, George wearing a wedding ring to see what effect it has on women. Did you ever do that?
No. I actually just made that up.
You just made that up? You didn't know anybody who did anything like that? Okay.
No.
What about Kramer's seizure to Mary Hart? Somebody had that, right, in real life, correct?
I think that was Larry's idea that he threw, that, like he added into that. That was a great idea.
So he just threw that one in
there?
there?
At first, we weren't allowed to use the Entertainment Tonight theme. They wouldn't let us use it.
Why?
I guess they were offended and the show wasn't a big enough hit then. But when the show became a huge hit and we went into syndication, they let us use the music. We put in the music, for the syndicated shows.
Right. And
I've met Mary Hart, and she thought it was hysterical.
The episode's called The Good Samaritan because Jerry trails a hit-and-run driver and then falls in love with her and gets very attracted to her. Is that something that you did yourself, Peter?
No. I made that up.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I guess that's why you're a terrific writer.
That's the thing about fiction.
Yes.
You got to make it up.
What about Shrinkage? Did you make that one up too?
Shrinkage was, I had this story and I was struggling with it.
Right. And
Larry calls me over and says, I'll tell, what if George goes into the pool and it's very cold and the girl sees him? And I said, oh, you mean like shrinkage? And Larry, in his brilliance, says, yes, shrinkage, and use that word. Use it a lot. Larry was so fireproof in what he thought was funny. It's unbelievable. And
so he's like, yes, that's the word. And you just used it off the top of your head. And what about yada, yada, yada? Where did that one come from, Peter?
This is so strange, but in 1988 or so, when I was a freelance writer in New York, I had a lunch with an editor from a women's magazine, and she said yada, yada, yada a few times, and I thought, that's kind of weird. I never heard that. And somehow it came back to me, 10 years later, 9 years later, and I was thinking, oh my God, if you say yada, 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 you can gloss over all forms of sin, And so the idea just sprung from that. And, the funny thing is, I didn't think yada, yada, yada would take off like it did. I mean, in that same episode, there was anti-dentite.
That's right.
And that's the one I thought that was going to go through the roof.
That's right, because Tim Whatley had converted to Judaism and started telling Jewish jokes.
Yes.
And that's when Jerry went to confession, right? And that's my favorite line in the whole episode, is that this offends you as a Jewish person, says the priest. He goes, no, it offends
me as a comedian. The funny thing is,
that's so fantastic.
The Tim Whatley, what's his name?
Tim Whatley.
The actor?
Bryan
Cranston.
Sure.
Years later, I bump into him at a Dodger game and I congratulate him on Breaking Bad. And then I said to him, but God, what happened to you? You're not funny at all anymore. He's such a great guy.
Well, he told a story here that the scene where he took a hit of the nitrous oxide before putting it on the patient came from, didn't he say it came from like
the lighting guy or something?
The lighting guy said, why don't you take a hit of the nitrous before you put it on, and he said he took away from that, best idea wins, is what he said. Doesn't matter who it comes from.
Oh yeah, that was why it was that was part of the best thing about the show, is that it was such a happy set and everybody was like free to contribute.
So did you ever have the shower head that knocked you over? Is that something too? I'm trying to just figure out what happened to you in life, and then you said, I'm going to put it on Seinfeld.
No, I once froze out my landlord and the super because they wanted to change my shower to a low flow. And, I couldn't have that. So, like you take these things and you bring them, like in the smelly car.
Yeah.
That happened to my friend, Barry Landsberg, and he could not get the smell out. But it didn't attach itself to you. That's where the fictional part
Of
comes
course.
in. If I realized that, if I could get everybody to go through that car, I could ruin their lives for that day.
That's right.
And that was the point of the show, is to ruin everybody's day and end up in a bad place.
So you never had a girlfriend that was a masseuse who refused to massage you? That never happened?
That kind of happened. Yeah, that happened.
Where Jerry was just so pissed that his girlfriend who was a masseuse would not massage
Yeah, she gave
him.
my friend the massage, and he's going, God, she's amazing. Like all I'm getting is the sex. What's going on here?
Oh, my God. That is phenomenal.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.